Given my fascination with royalty and their gorgeous and romantic gowns and crowns, I can never see too many photos of royal weddings, and I'm partial to most princess movies. I remember years ago in the salon chair, chatting with my hairstylist, Kelly. She was lamenting the fact that when she got married, she couldn't find any wedding dresses that didn't look like Cinderella, and that was just not her style. Me? I wanted Cinderella. That's not to say I've ever dreamed of actually being a royal. Far from it. In fact, princessing would be near the top of my list of distasteful lifestyles. To have my life and behavior be so circumscribed, so rigid, so inflexible, and so scrutinized, I treasure my personal freedoms far too much. I can be invisible as I think, act, and do what I want, when I want, without restriction and without any care as to what other people think or impacting other people. But when I read Prince Harry's book, Spare, I fully expected to sympathize with his life dictated by intolerable royal edicts. Sure enough, this is a young man who did not fit the royal mold. He was not a good student, he loved to party, and he admittedly lacked judgment in more than one compromising situation. He was traumatized by his beloved young mother's death by paparazzi and the British royalty's insistence on suppressing unseemly emotion. Yet he did savor the rare, intimate moments and unspoken family bonds he was a part of, as well as the privileged opportunities to travel the world, especially developing an intense feeling of love, peace, and belonging to the people, animals, nature, and special friends in Botswana, his emotional refuge. After a boyhood filled with playing war and physical fighting and horseplay with his brother, friends, and male relatives, he did find his calling at last in the military. The first things Harry taught me had to do with his detailed and candid feelings and experiences around his military service in Afghanistan as an Apache helicopter pilot and gunner. He personally killed 25 Taliban. And number 2, his participation in the longtime royal family's preoccupation with stalking, also known as hunting. I respect that for many people. Military service and hunting play meaningful and honorable parts of their identity and their path in this lifetime. I could not fault the logic and thought processes Harry laid out regarding both of these topics. For me, it's desirable and valuable to gain understanding about how proponents of military service and hunting think and feel, because I don't have that understanding. The royal family, and by extension anyone they're involved with, are subject to constant, relentless, hurtful, and invasive harassment by paparazzi. The English tabloids are frightening with their false and twisted stories they are sold, leaked, or just make up. Harry was more susceptible than most, especially when Meghan entered the scene. He hates the paps, as he calls them, and at first I thought, who could blame him? Granted, I can't judge at all, and we're only hearing one side of the story, but the family has broken up over Harry's obsession. How it looks to me is that he seems to have adopted an intense victim identity and lives in deep fear. His father, the king now, had advised him to ignore the tabloids and not to take things personally. Advice I thought was pretty good, but Harry's having none of it. He seems increasingly belligerent with every slight. In looking back over the week that I had listened to his book on my dog walks and in the car, I realized I'd become subtly unhappy and lacking in motivation to create, which is my best indicator of a successful day. I became aware of how easily I slipped down the vibration scale by becoming immersed in an external reality that wasn't my own. No wonder mass consciousness is fear-based by default, taking in and focusing on negativity from violence in news, movies, books, you name it. I was reminded that it takes conscious diligence to stay in my own vibrational choice, filling my senses, mind, and heart with love and beauty and goodness. I was also reminded that Harry's recurring problem with the paps means that it's a karmic lesson. The problem won't go away until it's addressed, worked through, and healed. Reading Harry's book affected me physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Ginny reminded me today that when we live from the upper room, from a higher vibration, we see and interpret everyday experiences with new eyes, a new perspective. While I'll add Harry and Fam to my nightly blessing and healing list, I thank him for illustrating for and reminding me of how divine laws and divine order work and are always at play for our soul's growth. Since refocusing on my path, my choice of vibration, I'm happily rejuvenated and creating once again. It feels so much better to shine that divine.